At number 7, a true classic, the sleek and streamlined reef shark, common in tropical waters throughout the world, from the feisty Caribbean reef shark to the greys of the Red Sea, black tips of the Pacific, and of course, the harmless little old white tip.
The reef shark looks like a shark. Its fins are very angular, its mouth has got a grin with just a hint of teeth showing.
Quite the classic shark. Gray, the men in the gray suits they call him.
They're such incredible adapted predators. They've been around since before the days of the dinosaur, and they really are totally adapted to the environment.
Their dorsal fin, their pectoral fins, their tail fins all seem to be pretty much proportionate.
Classic shark shape, very beautiful animal, very graceful animal. And I just think the variations in the colorations, the subtle variations with the white tips and the black tips and then the Caribbean reef shark just make them very interesting.
People see a big, powerful shark there, a real big size shark. It can be 6 feet long or more. But again, they realise this big creature isn't going to be aggressive towards them.
The reef shark is the most predominant shark at any shark dive worldwide. So it's the shark that most of us encounter on our first real interaction for a long period of time in the ocean.
Reef sharks are carcharinids, which is a large family of sharks. They're very similar, usually up to 2 meters in length.
There's a huge number of reef sharks, probably the most common being the Caribbean reef shark, found all over the Caribbean waters. The grey reef shark, common in the Red Sea and Indian Oceans, and the black tip reef shark, which is more the Pacific Ocean. They all look very, very similar, and sometimes impossible to tell them apart.
If you're looking at the white-tip reef shark, it's like a big dogfish. It lies around. You go somewhere like Cocos and you've got piles of them lying on the bottom in every little crack, every cave.
The white-tip reef shark looks different. It's a longer, thinner shark, fairly docile during the day. And its difference is it feeds at night. It tends to feed on sleeping fish, and it's got a very, very tough skin, so it can bury underneath coral and grab out and seek sleeping fish.
Once they find something, it's a complete frenzy. They just, a pack. It's almost like ants crawling on a hill, on a mound. They cover all nooks and crannies. They seek out their fish, and when they find one, it's just, I don't quite understand how so many of them can hunt one fish and even get a part of one fish. Their skin must be so incredibly thick, because I see them cram themselves into hard coral that would just rip us to shreds, and they come out completely unscathed. It's amazing.
It's probably the cuddliest shark, if you can have a cuddly shark, is the white tip.
Caribbean reef sharks are a classically shaped shark. They've got a pointed nose, sharp teeth, and all the fins in the classic position.
I've spent a great deal of time with them, and have even gone so far as to realize that they're very much like people.
I find that they have individual personalities, for sure.
Some are shy, some are very bold and in your face.
Photographing Caribbean reef sharks is superb fun because they're just hugely inquisitive. They're very unafraid of man. Having said that, they very, very rarely attack man. But they'll come right up to the lens. They're sensory perceptions of electrical signals are enormous, and flash guns give off huge amounts of electricity, and so they're not quite sure what they are. They frequently bump into them, testing them to see if they're fish. But having said that, they do it in an unthreatening way.
Reef sharks are hunters. They're always looking for the unwary fish, and they're somewhat curious. They can be the most dangerous sharks to work with because of their pack mentality. If you have a dozen or so individuals and one moves in to feed, it will draw the others in. There's some sort of competition. It's been likened to a pack of wild dogs. Well, these are wagging their tail, that's for sure, but they're a lot more trouble.
You can get close to it, you can get every shot you want, you can get the eye, you can get the mouth, you can touch it if you want to.
As one of them made the bad manners of biting my friend Jim Abernathy on his, well, it's on the, well.
Did Doug tell you that story? I can't believe he told you that.
As one of them had the bad manners to bite Jim Abernathy on his
on his backside.
on his ass, I think that these are animals that are probably not my favorite.
Reef sharks in general aren't that aggressive. They're very inquisitive. They'll come and especially if you've got fish in the water, they will come very close and investigate. They have been known to attack, and that's usually the fault of the diver.
I am a perfect statistic as far as shark attacks are concerned with scuba divers. If you look at statistics, you'll find that 70% of all shark attacks on scuba divers happen to people that are spearfishing. And I was attacked by a Caribbean reef shark and bit in the ass, which is somewhat comical. And I rightly deserved it. It was totally my fault. I had speared an enormous fish, and the shark that eventually bit me came in looking for the fish in a pool of blood, and first bit my camera and then bit me in the ass.
He is the butt of many jokes, yes.
Just because 1 in a million encounters ends up in somebody getting perhaps slightly bitten isn't a reason to fear shark. It's a wild animal, you should treat it with respect.
The only way to get close to sharks, many of the sharks, is through feeding them. And I personally believe that it is necessary to get close to sharks in order to appreciate them, so that hopefully one day we can love them enough to protect them.
The future of the most successful predator of all times is in our hands and in the hands of our children. Worldwide, something like 150 million sharks are slaughtered annually. This can't go on like this. We have to educate. Education is so important.
The reef sharks are extremely vulnerable in terms of conservation because they are in shallow waters that are being fished very heavily. They are accidentally caught in fishing nets very frequently, but they're also targeted as well, not just for their flesh but also for their fins. Although they're not the biggest fins, shark fins out there, they are being targeted for shark fins. In some recent research from North America, scientists have discovered that reef sharks appear to have declined by almost 2/3 in recent years.
It's just your standard shark.